fourth candidate here today, Dr. Fred Roberts. So thank you.
Happy to be here. I seem to know some of you, which is nice. I think I'm going to address this pretty much in order because that's how I prepared it. In terms of who I am, let me put it this way. The reason I'm seeking this position is that I look at it very much that my career began in higher education. When I was at Rutgers College, I had increasing levels of responsibility working for 5 years for the Dean of Students office, even acting at one summer as the acting Dean of Students for the university, and I was only 22 at that time. And I was interested in becoming a Dean of Students. And at that time, I was getting my doctorate in psychology. There weren't a lot of jobs on the East Coast, and I decided I would make a trip to the Midwest, be a psychologist. I was a director of a child guidance clinic in Wisconsin, and I eventually moved back down here as a chief of services with community mental health back in 1980, a long time ago. Met my wife, who was from Jeddah, got married, and I'm still here, and I'm still a psychologist. And I'll probably be working a couple more years, but I've always been interested in higher education, wanted to make a career of it. I was re-inspired about 3 years ago, and I hope I don't get too lengthy on this part, but I visited the man who was my mentor when I was in college at Rutgers, and he was the Associate Dean of Students. And he had just retired after 25 years as the president of Santa Barbara Community College, or Santa Barbara City College. And I went to visit him out in Santa Barbara, which was very nice. But I was so enthused and saw his enthusiasm of what a community college could be. And one of the things that I was learning from him as to why he left four-year schools and went into community colleges, he basically says that's where it's at, is their connection with the community and the things that they can provide with regard to career and career education and the things that they could provide for ongoing education. In fact, it was amazing at that college, and I'll get into this in a little while, the degree to which they were working with all members of the community, not just people seeking to get college degrees. While in this community, I've been on Rotary for 25 years. My wife went to this college. She's a registered nurse. My 3 kids all attended this college. In the early 80s, I was an adjunct, but I stopped doing that. Not that I didn't enjoy teaching, but I needed to be busy in my career and support my family. Let me see where we are here in terms of, I'm going to jump right to the notion of shared governance. One of the things, when I was first interviewed, I was interviewed by the faculty for that January position, and I'm glad that Dr. Niver got the position. Not glad that I didn't get it, but she's a very competent person, is learning about shared governance. And what I started to do in preparation for that meeting was read up about what other colleges do in shared governance, and it made perfect sense that what a college ought to be doing is having an administration that's transparent and shares with the faculty, having faculty that are listened to. And what I was hearing is the faculty saying they're not interested in what we have to say. They make their decisions without talking with us. We haven't known what's going on at their level. They appear to make decisions without really even consulting the community. At least that's the gist that I was beginning to get. And I began to continue to attend the board meetings to watch what was going on. And at one point I even decided, do I even want to be part of this? Because I don't want to be in a situation that is stagnant, that just wishes to reproduce what it does every year, year after year. You know, a college it is not just to be perpetuated, to be entrenched in ideas. It has to move with society and the needs of society. It asks, in the question here, what is shared governance? And I'll state it very quickly, and I'm sure so many faculty here you know. Shared governance at a college requires developing systems of open communication where faculty members, board members, and administrators work together to align and implement strategic priorities. It's a system for building communication, respect, and trust with an eye towards developing, and I like this, integral leaders at all levels. And my perspective is, and this is happening more and more in industry, the organizations that run the best value everybody's ideas. They value people's participation, and I guess I'd have to say as a psychologist and working with families for so many years, it may be likening any organization to being like a family. People have to talk with one another, listen to one another. There needs to be rules, but there also needs to be such things as cooperation and consensus building. And I believe as a psychologist, I could, play some role within that, maybe encouraging that. I also, based upon my trip to California, I have a second thing that I would like to see achieved, and I called it enlarging the role of the community college in the community. And I look at it this way. If you think about our community, there's not a lot going on in terms of community education. There's not a lot going on for adults who want to continue their education, some of whom don't need another degree, but just need to be learning something. One of the things that I learned in a college philosophy of education class was the notion that education is not necessarily means to an end. It can be an end in itself. The college, I think, has done a very good job in graduating students and that are prepared to go to four-year schools if they wish to do so. And it will continue to do that. And by hopefully educating people as well in careers that people can help themselves and their families to earn a living, hopefully people will stay in this community and want to be part of this community. But in addition to that, my notion of education as a means to an end, I'll give an example of some things that I was thinking of in this regard. And what I was thinking is that classes could be offered, and by a class we could talk about one session or many sessions, but it could be done in conjunction with local agencies and groups who share in the goals of that education. And some ideas kind of came to mind that would be, for example, businesses sometimes could use some help in terms of management training. There's a lot of businesses that could use that type of help, but they're not going to send their people for a four-year degree. Another thing that came to mind is environmental education that relates to protecting our lakes, protecting our groundwaters, our lands, conjunction with law enforcement, like helping reduce crimes in our community, keep the community safe, family training such as parenting, budgeting, mental health. I can go on and on. I have a long list here. In terms of education, that would be an end in itself, and I'll use this example. I've come back to the college to take a photography class. I took piano lessons here at the college. I would like, as I mentioned at our last get-together last Wednesday, I'd like to take some poetry classes. I don't want to have to enroll as a student to take a poetry class because I don't need the credits at this point in my life, but I would like to take these classes. One person sitting at my table, one of the English professors, talked about an idea of, he gave the example, having a book assigned, reading it for a month, coming back, discussing that book, signing another book. It would be an ongoing education that I think a lot of people would be interested in. And so there's a lot of ways the college can involve itself rather in addition to its good work to graduating students for that purpose. One of the questions that it has here, how am I doing for time, Bob?
About 5.5 minutes to go.
Oh, good. Okay. One of the questions that is asked is, how would you accomplish some of these things? And in having attended some of the board meetings, I'd have to say one thing. I hope we have a breath of fresh air with the new president, who seems to be a little more interested in communicating with students, at least based on my impression. But my ideas, and they're going to be very general, but at the board level, if I was a member of the Board of Trustees, I would try and influence the president to be interested in these ideas as well as the Board of Trustees. Because if you don't have that type of interest at the top, I don't know that you're going to get that much interest in accomplishing much at the college. Secondly, I would try and seek input and have the college seek input as well from faculty members, students, and other administrators other than at the board and presidential level. And ideally, it would occur that there would at least be some people that could be designated to work on these things and paid to do so at the faculty level and at the administrative level. This would have to occur over time. This is not the kind of thing that you do overnight. And I'll give another example for being a psychologist. When we do family therapy, regardless of what's happening in the family's going to resist change. They could be beating each other up. They could be having a bad time of things. And Sue's laughing. She understands that no matter what happens, people do not like change very much and resist change. The word that's borrowed from biology is that family systems seek to maintain homeostasis. Even if they're not doing well, they want to return to what they were. And this college is going to be the same way. You're going to have people here who are rooted for years in specific types of ideas. They don't like the change. And they're going to want to keep doing it the same way. And to me, that stultifies what a college could be offering to its students and to the community as well. If it's going to be shared governance, then it's going to require input from all levels of people, communicating with all people, gathering ideas for all people, consensus building as to long-term and short-term goals, and beginning to put these things in place. When it comes to offering things with regard to the community, I would say this, and I've made a comparison. We have shared governance. If we had shared governance at SC4, it would be nice to have shared governance at SC4 combining with the community at large in a form of shared governance as well. We would need inputs from private nonprofits, civic agencies, individuals with regard to doing work that would be a means to an end, and simply from individuals when it comes to taking education for education's sake. One of the things I also have been to in the past and would like to see more of here are symposiums. I think the last symposium I tried to come to was Tom Hayden. I couldn't even get in because it was so crowded. I'm of that era of Tom Hayden, and unfortunately he died this week. But there's a lot that could be done that would offer, let's say, large groups of people types of things that they may wish to learn about. Some ideas I jotted down in that regard is, at least I was putting down what I think I would like to attend. Things about race relations, so many issues in those areas, issues of war and peace, world religions, homeland security, terrorism, things in psychology. And these kinds of things would draw people, to the college. And I'm going to hit another thing to this too. I heard somebody talking at board level about the college should be spending more money on advertising. I disagree. In my profession, if I spend money on advertising, it doesn't go anywhere. The thing that has made my business very successful is I do a good job, and then people want to come. If you start doing good things in the community, then people will come to this college and your resources are being well spent. Questions and answers.
I want to make sure that we covered number 2, difference between students and customers.
Well, my bias is my undergraduate degree is in economics. And I'd have to say that a college does have to be run like a business in terms of offering something of value to the people that come here, and it also has to be involved in having a sense of mission. If it doesn't stay on top of what the mission is, and the mission should evolve with time, then it's not likely to be of value. And so I don't know if that answers the question, but I would say any good organization is going to be concerned about how to spend its scarce resources and have to evaluate its outcomes.
And I'm looking at number 4 too. Maybe you covered some of it, but in terms of conversing with students.
Yeah, I've thought about that, and one person had suggested to me, why don't you just come over to the college and walk around and you can talk to students and talk to faculty. I think it would work better, and something I would like to do is I would rather come in and sit down with an arranged group of people, like from student government or random students, and have lunch with them. I'd rather do the same thing with faculty. I'll give you an example of why I think this is the case. And you may think this is absurd, and maybe this was a unique experience. When I was taking my photography class about 3 years ago, here I am 60 years old, and everybody else is probably between about 18 and 23. I felt like the pariah of the class. Who wants to talk to a guy my age? And I'm a very friendly guy, but people were very much to themselves, and I think would not get very far stopping students and asking to talk with them. I'd rather do it in conjunction with student government or a student group with faculty, or a combination of the two. Yes.
And along the same lines, Dr. Roberts, number 6,
Yes.
Could you speak to that at all about TV or YouTube meetings being broadcast?
I have no problem with that at all. In fact, one of the things I was going to say is one of the things we have to be careful about in this day and age is a university with walls. We don't need walls as much as we used to in terms of getting out to the people. I think, if there were symposiums, they could be on YouTube. I was even thinking to myself, this should be on YouTube so that anybody who wants to see people like me being interviewed in the community could go to YouTube and look it up and see it. They're the voters. You guys, or can support me or not, but other people are not hearing me. And so even here should be the use of technology, and it's absent.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
That's it?
Well, I'll say, I do like the idea of, we used to have at colleges a college of lifelong learning for people who wanted to take courses in a variety of things. And that, I thought that was awesome at the time. It's kind of disappeared.
Yep.
But I think that would be a nice thing too.
Yep. And when I was in Santa Barbara, my friend was telling me that they have a waiting list for those classes. It is so popular and so busy that the adults can't get in.
People want to continue learning. I like the idea of education
It's a lifelong goal.
One point for history purposes, I guess, way back when, college had a relationship with the library. So there was that book club that existed. So one of the professors here might prepare and read a book and know that the people coming would also come and have it read. So there was a lecture discussion over that particular text at a time. So this was a bit of a synergy between the library at that time and the college.
See, and that's what I meant by working with existing organizations to combine that kind of thing, either here or there. It could be either place. I sometimes have heard from people that the college does not interact enough with the community at large. So I agree. Thank you very much. Yes?
Well, that's one of our struggles, because we used to do more of the community stuff, but it came down to dollars, and it wouldn't fund faculty to offer the things that were just for enrichment. And we could do it on our own time, on our own dime, but not part of SC4. And we moved away from a lot of those things and that's why the question about this business versus, customers versus students and stuff. It's because we get a lot from the administration that, we gotta, it's the business. That's the attitude we kind of get, and we feel we're losing that thing about learning and enrichment. And, so we don't offer that. I mean, my kids used to take summer classes here. We don't do that much anymore. You know?
And I think that's a really great idea. You know, if you want kids to come to the college, then you need things like summer classes to get used to what value the campus has. That's advertising in a sense, but as a unintended consequence, but that's how you get people to participate in the college. I'd also say too, I've heard another person on the board talking about growing the college. I'd be more interested in worrying about improving the college than growing the college. Bigger isn't necessarily more effective or better. Comments?
Thank you.
Thank you.